Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Peña X Series Mini Diesel. This is a knife that you guys encouraged me to get. You didn't have to give me much encouragement because I did play with one at Blade Show, and it is pretty cool, and I was very interested in it. And then some of you guys asked for me to review it, and I did. This is not an inexpensive knife. It's $299, but it is kind of inexpensive for what it is. We'll talk about more of that in a moment. But on a related note, I do have to thank my Patreons. I'm just going to give a few random shout outs here. I'm trying to do that more because I do really appreciate everything that you guys do for me, and it allows me to just go pay full boat for something like this and give it a shot. I want to thank Jeremy Dean, Zerber, Nerd, that's a name that he chose. Who else do we have here? Plains Crafter, and Stephen Engelbrecht. I just pick some random ones here every time I do it. So if they're repeats or I miss you, I just pick some random ones whenever I do these shout outs. But I do very, very much appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Again, allows me to do stuff like this without too much guilt. So I chose in this particular knife the thumb stud version. I think that's maybe when you guys suggested it, because I have a Chavez also made by Reate that I really, really like. And you know what, as a reviewer, you get flipper fatigue sometimes, and it's not like my finger doesn't break. It's just I review so many flippers that sometimes it's nice just to have a thumb stud knife. It's kind of nice just for a bit of a change. And lately I've been more into thumb stud knives, but this does come in a flipper version also. So you get to choose your own adventure. You can either do thumb stud or flipper. It comes in either this gorgeous machine satin finish, which I think is beautiful, and I think you'd be silly to choose the other one. But if you're silly, you can get the black DLC coated version. All of them have the same handle, and these lovely blue pops of color, which I normally don't like, but it looks really good on this knife. This thumb stud, all the hardware, the back spacer, it's a very, very pretty thing. We have shred carbon fiber. I think a couple places call it weave carbon fiber. It is not. It is absolutely definitely shred, and that's what it says in the box, which we'll see in a moment. And it's made by Reate, which I'm one of my favorite OEM manufacturers, and Reate of course makes some amazing knives of their own, but the Reate stuff is just so well done. I mean, you can't feel anything. And I tore this whole knife apart. And even after putting it back together, the transition between this carbon and the titanium, I mean, we'll do the fingernail thing, see if you can hear it. You can't. The transition is so amazing on these. It's just beautifully done in every possible way. And for $299, I'm sorry, I know that I'm going to catch some flack because I've been reviewing some more expensive knives lately. It's not going to be the norm. It's post Blade Show. It's, I got some expensive stuff that I got to take home. But it's worth it. It's worth the $299 all day long, twice on Sunday. Absolutely. Just for the looks and just the quality of it. Abso-freaking-lutely, as they would say. I'm going to show the packaging too. The packaging is also really nice. If you watched my Chavez review, this probably looks a little bit familiar. It's even got kind of the same finish as the Chavez because they're both made by Reate. Nice little magnet box in here. Yeah, packaging is good, and it says shred carbon fiber satin. And it does specify studs because, yeah, you can get it in the flipper as well if that's what you want to do. If you're not a jaded YouTube reviewer who is tired of flippers. But, all right, let's do some specs and size comparisons before we move too much farther. You have an overall length of 7.75 inches. Blade length of just 3¼ inches. This knife you're going to see is not as big as everybody thinks that it is. I think a lot of people think it's a big bruiser. It really isn't. You have a blade thickness of 0.15 inches, handle thickness of 0.56, and a weight of 4.87 ounces, which I do have to give them the golf clap because that is exactly what they claimed and exactly what my scale said. So whenever it matches exactly to the 100th, I always get the golf clap. It's not particularly light. 4.87 ounces for a 3¼ inch blade. No, no one's ever going to call this a lightweight, but it is it's not, you'll see as we go on, it does carry well. It's actually not that obscene. It's kind of halfway between just a bruiser and an EDC. It's tough to explain. Hopefully we'll get through that in the course of this video. But as far as size comparisons go, look at it against a PM2, one of our standards here. We'll line up the pivots on those little dots there, and you'll see, yeah, it's shorter than PM2. It actually almost compares size-wise better to the Para 3. It's almost kind of closer in size to a Para 3 than it is to a PM2, in length anyways. Obviously not in weight and other dimensions, but in handle thickness and stuff. But it's really not that huge of a knife. A knife that it just kind of sprang to my mind, and I had it right at hand, so I brought it out for this. It's actually really similar in size to the Benchmade Bug Out. Obviously not in any other dimension other than overall length, but other than that, you know, just that one dimension, it's close. We're going to bring out also another thumb stud deployment knife I really, really like a whole lot. Your Southern Grind Spider Monkey. Pretty similar in overall length to that. It's a bit bulkier. And I mentioned it before, another Reate made knife that I also really, really like that you guys made me get. This is the Chavez Ultramar 229. As you can see, it's quite a bit smaller than that. It's just not nearly as bulky as I think a lot of people think they're about the same size, and they really aren't. The Peña is quite a bit smaller. Now, I do believe that Chavez does have some Ultramar models that I think the Rendition is much closer in size to this, but the 229 is a little bit of a larger Chavez. Okay, let's talk more about this knife. I've already gone on about how beautiful it is. It is gorgeous. Let's talk about this blade, because it's also gorgeous. It is fairly thick blade stock, as I said. M390, Reate does a great job with our M390. No concerns there at all. But it is very thin behind the edge. Again, just like the Chavez is. This is something that I talked about with the Chavez, is on Reate's own knives, they seem to go pretty thick behind the edge on a lot of their collaborations. I assume because the designers ask for it. They're much thinner behind the edge. This isn't quite as thin behind the edge as the Chavez, but it's close. I'm measuring this thing like 15, 16 thousandths behind the edge on this kind of recurvy bit, and up towards the top, 17, 18 thousandths. That's not bad. Lovely hollow grind. This thing slices extremely well. I happened to get a Chewy delivery today, so I had to cut up some boxes, and man, it slices like you would not believe. It's very, very good slicer. Still has a very good tip on it, for absolutely sure. This wedge makes it really hard to show on camera, so I'm going to show it like this and then kind of rotate. But as you can see, the wedge goes all the way to the tip, so it's got a pretty robust tip on it. I would do some stupid things with this, and I think it would be okay with it. I wouldn't hesitate to do stupid things with it, except for that I really, really like it and it's pretty. But other than that, I would do stupid things with this, and I think it would probably handle it. The only downside to the blade it does have a slight bit of recurve. I'm not the biggest recurve fan, but you know what? I'm also not the best sharpener in the world. I'm getting tolerable at it, and this much recurve doesn't scare me. It's a very small amount. I think I'd be able to handle that just fine. Other than that, you know, it's the sharpening choil is good. It does have a front finger choil. Some people always holler about that, losing blade length. The way they did this, you wouldn't have gained much. They couldn't have brought that back more than what? At most, 1/8 of an inch to try and miss that plunge. So if they just didn't do the forward finger choil, yeah, you'd gain at most 1/8 of an inch of cutting edge. I'm willing to give that up for the forward choil myself. That's up to you. It's not the biggest forward choil in the world, but it is usable. And also, if you're using this thumb stud version, you have thumb studs that are a bit in the way of the cutting path. But if you don't like that, get the flipper. And you don't have it. Doesn't bother me at all. I used it again, like I said, cut up some cardboard and stuff the last couple days, and it's been fine. It's never really been something that upset me. I'm willing to give that up to have thumb studs instead of the flipper, because again, as I said before, flipper fatigue. As far as ergonomics go, it's really good. It's really good, guys. As I said, that forward finger choil, I have skinny fingers. It works great for me. It might not for you. If you have fat fingers, it might not be a forward choil. But again, you're not losing hardly anything in cutting edge, so I don't really have a problem with that. The jimping on it, it may be a tick aggressive. It's a bit sharper than I would like, but it's not crazily so. I'm okay with it. And if you don't want to choke up, it works extremely well also. You can feel the pocket clip, not a hot spot. You know it's there, but not much. Not much. You barely know it's there. No problem. That jimping does land in just the right spot, and if you choke up, you have another little flat spot to land on up here. It's not jimped, but it doesn't really need to be. I think that's very, very thoughtful. If you're choked up, you have a nice flat spot to land on. I've reviewed a few knives lately that they just keep the swedge going back so far that it's sharp. This actually has a nice flat spot to land on, and I do very much appreciate that. And again, with no transitions and stuff. Is the handle slick? Yeah, kind of, but you're locked into this well enough. I don't think it matters. Sometimes I think super grippy textures on handles are overrated unless you're, wearing gloves or something like that. But yeah, ergonomically, very, very good. Very, very good. Let's put it in yield Wranglers. I keep saying I'm going to replace them, and then I keep forgetting to. But as far as carry goes, it's good. Is it the best in the world? No. I mean, it weighs almost 5 ounces for a 3 1/4 inch blade. But it slides into the pocket very well. Pocket clip tension, outstanding. This particular version, no flipper tab, so that's good. I cannot comment on the flipper tab version because I have a few Patreon supporters, but not enough to allow me to buy both versions. But this no flipper tab version, it actually carries extremely well for the weight that it is, and for the thickness of the handle. Because it isn't the thinnest handle in the world by any means, but that's part of the reason why the ergonomics are so good. But yeah, I really enjoyed carrying it. I've only had it a couple of days, but I've really enjoyed carrying it. It's been very nice. You do have a bit sticking out of the pocket, obviously, as you saw, but it's not like a bright, ridiculous thing. You have the little bits of blue, but I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me self-conscious. The action. Okay, it's easy to say it's a Reate. They're usually great, but Reate, especially, again, I just got the Chavez. They're really good with the thumb studs, and this is no exception. Obviously, a lot of this is due with Peña also because he designed it. But at a glance, like, visually, you look and go, oh, those thumb studs are in kind of a weird place because you have this cutout for the finger, and usually people just plop thumb studs right there. These are a little farther back. Yeah, I'm really glad they did that because, man, it's effortless. And the close, I did take this apart. I did lube it. I will say all that, but I didn't improve it. It was just this good out of the box. Just listen to that. And this is with carbon fiber, which carbon fiber usually acoustically kind of deadens stuff. So if this thing was full tie, holy crap, it would wake up the neighbors. It's outstanding. The action is just superb. No complaints there. Nothing but praise there, actually. I mean, honestly, conclusions, I always split my best knives of the year over 100, under 100. I cannot fathom this isn't in the over 100. It is an extremely, extremely good knife. The only reason I could see why someone wouldn't like it is that you just aren't willing to spend that much for a knife. Well, fair enough. Okay, cool. Still watch the video. It's still fun to watch. You really hate recurves, like a lot. Like you hate recurves more than stones in your shoe, because this is barely a recurve. It's not enough to worry about. and you really hate thumb studs in your cutting path, which at that point you just get the flipper. They give you options, which is cool. But in knowing Reate, I bet the flipper's action is just as good. So yeah, I think for $299, and I know this isn't going to help the people who are mad at me lately because I've been doing more high-end knives, and I swear this isn't going to be a regular thing, but I think for $299, it's kind of a bargain. It really is. It's just a fantastically built, well-designed knife with a great blade, with a great grind. This, I didn't touch on it as much in the blade part, but yeah, there is kind of a multi-angle grind here. You get a nice, good, tough tip, and you still get a good slicing edge. Yeah, I'm kind of in love with this, and I'm not ashamed to admit it because I paid full price for it. So it's a great knife, and you guys made me do it. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want this. That's a lie. I totally wanted it. I just used you to justify my purchase, but still, I love it. It's a great knife. I've never had a Peña before, and my first impression is that I want more of them. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.